80% of our revenue in contract work, and then over the next 18 years that ratio shifted. So today we're about 80% product revenue, which is where all the high profit is, and 20% contract revenue. And even though we're no longer no longer considered a small business by U.S. Department of Defense standards, we no longer can bid on these small business grants. We still do a lot of research directly with the U.S. Department of Defense. Which brings me another whole topic of conversation is how to be owned by a foreign company while still being able to do U.S. Department of Defense classified work. We retain security clearances in MOC. We do classified work for the U.S. Department of Defense, yet we're owned by a foreign parent, which has a whole another headache of nightmares of ownership and control, attachment of control, blah blah blah, which one might blame or thank for the cause of this acquisition to be successful. Most acquisitions actually fail. The parent company winds up destroying the target one way or the other. This one actually worked out quite well. MOC continued to grow and flourish under ST, and it may be in no small part due to the fact of this legally forced separation between the parent company and the acquired company. So that's a whole other topic of conversation. Let's see, when to sell your company. Okay, that's several days of lectures on when and why to sell your company. In my case, we thought that our company would sell a lot quicker. We thought that we were right at the sort of sweet spot in the internet space of online network virtual reality. We actually did have a couple of offers in the late 90s, but they were all in stock. And I was quite thankful at that time that we said, I don't know that we want to, we got something good here, we're making money, we're actually profitable. You guys are selling parts of your company to investors and burning a lot of cash, and your stock, I don't really think it's worth as much as my stock, so why would I give pieces of my company? So, for better or worse, we turned down all the .com offers that we had that were only in stock. Whenever we said, okay, now we like half the money, half the compensation in cash, and the answer from those guys was no. So that was pretty good. It was a good thing to avoid, because come 2001, we were like, wow, really dodged a bullet on that. That's a whole nother. Let's see. So when to sell your company and why to sell your company. Reasons can vary quite a bit. One little piece of advice that I learned is if there's a good deal in front of you, take it. Because very often that good deal will vanish and times change and things become quite different. 2006, 2007, for those of you involved with M&A, was a very good time for M&A if you were the seller of the company. Multiples were pretty high, people had a lot of cash, everything was feeling good, stock market was flying very high. If I tried to sell my company 18 months later, I probably couldn't get a deal at all from anybody, let alone for anywhere near the valuation that we got in late 06. So one interesting lesson of life: when there's a good deal in front of you, don't try to squeeze the last nickel out of the deal. Even with any business deal in life, don't try to squeeze the last nickel out of the deal. You can wind up harming yourself in the long run. There's a saying in the States: leave some for the next guy. Okay, which means don't be a pig. Don't try to bring every last bit out of it. Okay, living with a boss. Okay, two bosses in this case, because I have ST has a U.S. subsidiary called VT Systems, which has its own management structure, and then so we have a dotted line reporting into a parallel organization in Singapore at ST. So how to manage two bosses? Okay, when both of them have P&L responsibility for you. Both of them are adding your numbers in a matrix form to present their numbers. It's interesting. MOC's done pretty well, so nobody's really hassled me that much in the last couple of years. But it's a tough thing. Having a boss at all, after not having one for many years, is a tough thing. Having two is even tougher. But actually the guys are pretty good. The fact that we have this special security agreement separating MOC from our parent has actually helped buffer quite a bit. So let's see, what else? I think I'm going to throw it, that's about 15 minutes, right? But I think I'm going to throw it over to questions now, because we've thrown enough at the table probably dragged in many different directions. Any questions to start with?
So how do you ensure that employees support acquisitions and stay throughout?
How to ensure that employees stay after the acquisition? Yeah, okay, that's a good one. We actually did pretty well there. We had no key employees leave after the acquisition. Now, why did that happen? I think at first, after an acquisition, people hang around to see what the story is and what's going on. So maybe morbid curiosity, whether the company's going to get destroyed, or maybe the parent company will pump a lot of money into it. This could be a great thing. So nobody knows. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But so curiosity kept the first few, and then after a few months, a year, people started saying, well, you know what, things really haven't changed for me. We gave stock options to all of our employees, so everybody had something, so everybody cashed out a little bit. And I would have to say there was personal loyalty to myself and my partner, who also stuck it out for a good long time. And to this day, it's been 3.5, almost 4 years. We have 62 or 63 employees in the company. I would say 20 of them have been there for more than 10 years. It's very, very odd for a software company. And you'll hear a lot of things like, it still feels like a small company. I still have a lot of independence. I'm still given a lot of authority and autonomy. The company still has a share the wealth mentality with profit sharing. Personal loyalty to the founders, founding team, other people around. So there's, we don't have stock options anymore, but we have everything else that we had before, except for that. And that was enough to keep people around. Next.
When you talk about selling, how do you do valuation? When you're trading moving?
Valuation is a great question. There's many different ways. When I was trying to value Mock, you go through, actually Marlene here, who's on the deal team on the other side. She's actually an expert, Sloan MBA, lived in Boston. She's an expert on valuation. And she may tell you a different story, but overall, it's just what a buyer and seller can agree upon. There's a lot of rationalization, justification. On one end of the spectrum, a pure financial buyer will look at a company and say, okay, here's your cash flow, here's how much money this thing is making. And if I have no other strategic interest in this company, I'm just going to buy it for its cash flow, run its cash flow down, and make more than I paid. And there's evaluations, many equations you can do, discounted cash flow, cost of money, blah, 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 how many years you're going to run the thing, the projections of profits over those years, and you discount the cash flow back to today, and give yourself some return rate, and there's a pretty conservative, low end of the spectrum valuation methodology. Most entrepreneurs, of course, hate that methodology because it values your company at the very, very lowest common denominator. On the other side of the spectrum, all the way over here, you might have a company like Microsoft that says, I really need this technology badly, because I've got a $4 billion product line whose place in the market is jeopardized if a competitor overtakes it. So how much is it worth to Microsoft if they go from $4 billion to $3 billion 1 year because some competitor of theirs leapfrogged them? So it's really a question of I need the time to market. I can't wait for my own guys internally to make the same thing. So it's